Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rivers Art Colors. My name is Nick Rivers, and today I'll be rendering out John Stewart, the Green Lantern. Doing this in Photoshop CS5 and using my usual soft airbrush tool to figure out the shape of his face to get the idea where I want the light to kind of hit his face. I went ahead, you'll notice I skipped the whole flat process. I think I may start doing the coloring videos like this from now on, unless you guys really want to see me just use the lasso and paint bucket tool that badly. Otherwise, if you check out the Coloring Mr. Incredible video and the what was the other one that I did, the Scarlet Witch video, if you check those out, you can see how I lay down my flats. But yeah, otherwise I'll probably just skip right to the good part. In real time, this drawing took me about approximately 2.5 hours to complete. I really wanted to do it in one sit down, but I started it pretty late at night and just didn't have the energy to stay up late and finish it. So, you know, there's always tomorrow. And so I got up the next day and finished it. But obviously it's sped up for you guys, so you don't have to sit around and watch me render for 2 hours. But I do hope to do a few slower videos later. I'm never really sure how much, I'm a visual learner, so, it probably is a reason why I wouldn't be that great of a teacher, but I learn things, I absorb things visually by seeing someone do those things. So I hope that these videos, these instructional videos, I guess they're more or less not really instructional videos, but more just kind of watch how I do it kind of videos. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of it, just, seeing my process. I don't, a lot of these things that I've learned how to do with Photoshop, I've done a fair amount of reading around. I started working in Photoshop like I want to say around 2003. So yeah, I've had a few years to play around with it and learn a few tricks, learn a few things that I like to do when it comes to the way that I color on here. But I think that, I know, like, I didn't have all that much. There was a few videos that I watched early on. There was a few comic books I've even purchased. There's a how to draw colors, or how to color comics, how to color manga, I think it was, that Antarctic Press put out a long time ago. And I remember checking that out, and kind of that was my first insight into, how do I color a comic book, or how do I color my pinups. And I as much as I read those books, it was mostly just kind of noticing things in the artwork itself and trying to duplicate it myself. So I don't know, I'm starting to ramble now. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope that hope the videos aren't too aren't too fast for you guys, to see what's going on. I don't know. I'll try to get around to doing something a little slower, a little less sped up, so you can get a even better glimpse at my process. But really, a lot of it is using just really using two brushes. It can't make it any more simpler than that. It's the airbrush tool and the the more of the solid brush tool, and you know, that's it. I did have some, you know, considering the light source, he's got this huge green construct that he's projecting out of his ring of his fist, and considering that, I'm not sure ultimately if I did the best job on the on the light kind of affecting his costume. But you know, just kind of tried to do the best I can. I did fix, if you'll notice, I changed his costume a little bit from the line art that I recorded for the Rivers Art Draws segment with this same drawing. I noticed his boots didn't quite look right, and I think I realized that's because I was drawing John from memory, and I made his boots a little bit more like his cuffs on his arms. And I went back later and kind of looked at some Green Lantern artwork and noticed he actually had full boots. So I'll try that out, and it actually ended up looking better anyway. So that just goes to show you, you know, your line art can evolve, can still evolve even after you've done the inks and get ready to commit to doing the colors. It ain't over until it's over, until it's done. So you know, you always have, and even then, you know, there's always room for improvement. I'm not a huge fan of going back into older works and changing them. I'd rather just do a whole new drawing. But if it's something that I really like, if it's a drawing that I really particularly like, and I notice a problem with it later, you know, I don't have any problem going back and fixing my mistakes. Now you'll notice I'm going to put a lot of bright spots, a lot of highlights on the green part of his costume, and this just kind of helps it. It's pretty exaggerated, but it'll help give off that metallic look. And it complements the brush strokes, the black brush strokes on his shoulder and his chest and on his forearm and whatnot. So, and actually, it's one of the parts I love doing those bright kind of those super bright highlights too. It just makes things really pop. Now with this, I have my layer set to screen, and it just, I notice it because sometimes I'll use the smudge tool on the tips where I want to fade it out, and it gives much more of a convincing kind of bright effect if you have it set to screen. Since I'm using the solid brush for those highlights, sometimes at the point where I think it's going to be the brightest, I'll go back and take the airbrush tool and dab it right there to kind of get the light to fan out a little bit. And it just gives me that kind of a little bit closer to that metallic sheen that I'm looking for. Now with our hero mostly rendered out, I can go ahead and start thinking about some of the other additional lighting effects that I want on him, like this green light coming from his construct, kind of bouncing off of his face a little bit. You know, anything that, as a colorist, anything that you can do to tie your character into the background or into their surroundings, and kind of helps sell the drawing a little bit better, I think. So any kind of additional light sources you can throw at your character always, I don't know, it helps sell the picture. Good color can make or break a drawing sometimes. I mean, you can have a really excellent piece of line art, and if your colors aren't, if you're not considerate with thinking out your color schemes, or how the lighting in your color is going to work, it can really make a good piece look dull. And right here you'll see with my really slow image size progress bar, I made the mistake of I exported my line art out at about 600 dpi, and as you can see, my layers get pretty busy. I just, when I'm working, I like to kind of work a little fast, and sometimes my layers get out of control. So I noticed my file was being bogged down quite a bit, so I decided to take the image size down to 300 dpi, um, which is still pretty high quality. Right here I'm using my array of different splatter brushes and star brushes to give that outer space look. I guess I was was inspired by my wallpaper. I kind of realized that this background kind of looks somewhat like that. Same kind of color scheme with the fuchsia and purples. Um, it is what it is. And then this is the fun part. I get to play around with what I have, and put some different layer effects on his halo that he has around him. I used a couple of different brushes too. I've got like a cosmic brush set that I got I don't even know where I collect different types of different Photoshop brushes. I've even made a few myself, and got gotten some Photoshop brushes handed down from other friends of mine that I use from time to time. But I don't. I really just use them for just extra added kind of background effects most of the time. I usually don't take the center stage in my artwork. And this, I had a hard time figuring out how I wanted his construct to look. In particular, the type of green that the hand was gonna look like. Starting to get afraid that if I made it too lime green, that would look. I mean, it's already kind of silly because it's a giant fish, so I didn't want to make it look any more sillier than it had to be. I want it to kind of look like it was maybe translucent too. So that was kind of a hard thing to balance. I think my end result, I got somewhere kind of what I had in the back of my mind. I'm not sure if I nailed it 100%. I'll kind of let you guys be the judge of that. So yeah, there's just putting in I didn't go too crazy with the highlights, midtones, and shadow on the construct either. I just kind of did very basic stuff. Shift the hue around a little bit to see if I could get a more of a true green and eliminate some of that lime color, because like I said, I wasn't really digging that too much. Use white to soften up the shadows a little bit. And I think, it's not a awful not an awful construct. Has some transparency to it. and this is actually me messing with the transparency a little bit in my layer effects. Duplicated it to have one layer set to overlay and one layer set to hue. And I figured, why not? He should maybe his construct will have that kind of halo that that Jon Stewart has around him. You know, in the comics, that whenever you see the Green Lanterns and they have that green halo around them, that's kind of how they are able to both breathe in space, and that's how they're able to fly. So it's very important. You can't do a Green Lantern drawing without that. Well, at least if they're in space hovering around, they should always have that. And last but not least, we have Planet Mogo in the background, and just some simple airbrush strokes to get that kind of atmospheric swirl of clouds and whatnot. And this was one of those things I had to kind of pull myself away from that too, from over rendering that, because I could have gone pretty nuts with it, but you know, it's a background element, so I just kind of let it be. As usual, I will have the link for the finished drawing in the description below if you'd like to take a look at that. Again, if you like the video, please let me know. If you hate the video, please let me know. Any kind of input, if there's any other different kind of characters you'd like to see in future videos, please leave it in the comments below. And that does it for now. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'm out.